topics to talk about, you are very welcome to suggest those. But I thought that we will just start with these three, and you can take them in any order. One question, for example, we would like to address is this question. You see it on the screen, I hope, right now. How do the ideas shared help to meet the requirements of Ashford University and meeting the goal of student-centered learning? Another important question we often think about is, does the concept of modeling behavior improve the quality of instruction? What kind of thoughts you have on that when you come to your classroom? And what are the main challenges when implementing these concepts online? As we know, we all have our own styles and instructional methods. And certainly many of us have certain challenges to implement our vision of what the best ways to introduce our methods in the classrooms are. So now I turn to you guys, and we look forward to your ideas on the subject. You can type in your questions in the chat room, or I'm not sure if the mic is open for everyone. Let's start with the questions in the chat room. Maybe just in order to give some more guidance, Conni, do you want to quickly summarize maybe a few points that were presented in the our previous conversation, our walk the line presentation?
Sure. One of the things that we talked about was the fact that we model the behaviors. We set the example for what the expectations are in the classroom. And if we do not set a good example, then the tone set for the student is that they have to do the least possible work that they can get away with. You know, and some of the examples were just, you know, copying and pasting information from the classroom into other areas of the classroom, or not providing the feedback in the proper format, you know, operational feedback showing up in the discussion room rather than the grade book. So the goal is the student-centered learning process, and what we want to do is make sure that our behavior is defining and presenting the best possible example for our students. And Joshua has a question. Joshua says, I have a question about modeled behavior. I find sometimes that students limit themselves too strictly to the models they are given and don't allow themselves to create outside of those models. How would you suggest creativity beyond the basics of modeled environment? Irina, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I can share, for example, some of the things I'm doing in my classroom, and I hope that that helps. Because you're right, Josh, that students very often feel restricted in this not really very flexible, sometimes, environment when we have the preset, so to speak, guidance and lectures, and basically the interaction between students and the instructor happen in either in the discussion forums or frankly, face-to-face, so to speak, via email or responses feedback that we provide in our, with our grades or in response to the student's paper. So the way to encourage their critical thinking, of course, and creativity is to ask additional questions. And sometimes students are ready and willing, so to speak, to expand their view on the subject and explore the topic further and answer these questions, even if their answers are based on their own personal view or perception. When I see their willingness to participate in this extensive discussion and offer their opinion, I also try to streamline that thought and ask students to align their ideas with the concepts that we are studying during that week, with the concepts in the book. So what I'm trying to do is to show to the students how their own ideas match the theory and how their own ideas and the theory can further help them to apply these things in practice, in their professional life, at work. And I always try to emphasize that, look guys, we are studying these and that concepts right now. Here are some great examples and answers that you showed, and I always try to emphasize for everyone those great answers that a few students show. And then I'm telling, look, in your paper this week or next week, you will have to discuss these issues. Try to apply it to your own world. See how it matches the real life situation in your organization, in your life. Even if you are not working right now, you are, for whatever reason, maybe at home. And they really appreciate that because they see the opportunity to be creative. And from, of course, I cannot say that it happens 100% in my classroom, but even if some of the students, a few of my students in the classroom jump at that opportunity and start showing creativity, I'm very happy because they set a great tone and great example for others. And as we all know, some people need those examples. And then next time they start following these steps and show their own, their own great examples. So I hope that answers your question, Josh.
You know, this is Conni, and Diana, you've got a great response there that sharing the models in the instructor's guidance is a way to help them be creative. And not only that, it directs them to the guidance. But for Joshua and Diane both, another thing that we have to remember, this is where the relationship building process is so important. If you are developing a good relationship with your student, then they are going to be more creative because they feel more comfortable about being creative. And some of the things that you can do to develop that relationship is just show a little bit of humor. This is not something that is so serious that we have to be over-the-top serious all the time. Show them that you're human and that you do have a sense of humor, and I hope that you do have a sense of humor, but it helps to open up and relax that relationship a little bit that will allow them to explore and not be afraid of being wrong. Because that's one of the things we're all afraid of, is being wrong. We want that example. We want to know what it looks like, and we're not going to reach out in the awful thing that we might be wrong. So the relationship that you develop with your students is going to have a big impact on whether they're willing to be creative or not.
Thanks, Conni. I see also some good questions from Camille and Michelle asking, and I assume there's new faculty members. They're asking for some advice to new instructors in terms of, you know, how to model the good behavior for students. And sometimes Camila says that they feel like kind of stuck. And first of all, I want to say, Camila, please don't feel like stuck. If you have questions or some concerns or you don't know how to move on, please always feel free to reach out to your colleagues, full-time faculty members, and even to us personally, to Conni and myself. So how to, going back to the question that Michelle and Camila asked, how to model the behavior. As we discussed in a previous discussion, so I apologize for those who heard it, previous presentation, we mentioned that the best way to model the good behavior in the classroom is by doing the awesome job. Not just to do the things that are required from us. Like, for example, we are required in the discussion board to post 6 questions or responses to our students, right, 3 times a week. And many of us do that. But when we look at the quality, and when I'm saying that, we'll look at the quality of faculty work that happens during so-called IQRs or evaluation, peer review evaluations. Many of our colleagues are doing absolutely awesome job. In these 6 or 6 plus, more than 6 postings, not only they comment on students' answers, comment constructively and acknowledge good work of students, but they also say why this response, why this answer is good, how it covers the topic of the reading assignments, how it aligns the theory with the practice, and also in their responses, great instructors asking good questions to stimulate critical thinking. More to that, when students do respond to additional questions, awesome instructors follow up on that. They acknowledge student extra work. So this is one of the examples how we model our behavior. We show the students that we care. We follow up on things. We are not being just formal facilitators doing just the things that are required. We go above and beyond, and we show to our students that we are always present there. It certainly requires more time and more effort on our part, but it's really worthwhile when you see the students' response and their engagement and their acknowledgement how much more they learn and how these theoretical things make sense to them. Does that answer your question, Camila?
So, you know, let's drop down to the last question. What do you think the main challenges are implementing this concept online? You know, the modeling the behavior and the relationship development. What are the main challenges that prevent us from maybe taking that extra step and being awesome? If you want to jump in on the phone or online, we'll be on the mic. We'll be more than happy to set you up. So if you want to talk, just let us know.
And by the way, you can hit that button on top, raise your hand if you want to show you want to talk. Then our moderators will know that and will open the mic for you. You see this little guy on with the raised hand? Just click on it if you would like to speak live with us.
Yeah, time management and large classes is a big challenge. And you know, we all have templates. Like I said in the first class, we have templates that work in the discussion room that we can do workarounds and increase the discussion points and address the student personally. But the time management aspect of, you know, developing that relationship online is probably the most difficult.
Yes, Conni, I agree with you. This is so true. And probably each of us has this experience that when students, you know, send us emails and to make us aware that it's really very difficult to follow this very, you know, tight schedule of our 5- and 6-week courses. And they do acknowledge that it's difficult. I don't know if my humor really reads that well, but I'm trying to tell them, well, guess what? You have only one professor in your class, but I have 30-plus students. So let's be mindful of that. And even though the students know that we are allowed to 48 hours to answer their questions, but frankly, I always try to answer students' questions in the emails and in the classroom basically momentarily within 12 hours because I do realize how important our response and how important our personal guidance to students is because of these time constraints. And the sooner we answer their questions, the sooner the students will be able to go on and continue with their assignments. And that especially pertains to written assignments because they are looking for our advice and they want to know that they are heading into the right direction. So in my view, this, again, letting students know that we are always here to support them, that they are not left alone, you know, to swim all on their own. It's very, very important. And that helps them to manage their time because they have very little time and we need to help them to make the best of it.
Irina, if it's all right with you, I think because we've got so much action in the chat box, that is going to take us to the next section of this coffee chat. There are a lot of great suggestions in there, and let's look at the next half of this discussion. The concept is that professional development and virtual learning is limitless at Ashford University, and as you can see by the chat box over here, there is great content being typed into that chat box. During the development opportunities, there's always a desire to share and explore the topics further. I don't know if you attend the think tanks or the great presentations that Jackie and his group make at the EdTalks. There's just great things happening, and the chat box is on fire most of the time. So establishing a forum for further discussion will enhance the development process and generate creativity while collaborating the expertise of faculty. But as you can see today, there's a lot of things going on in the chat box. How do we do it? Is there a value to having after the presentation chat and dialogue? When should it occur and in what format? What are your thoughts on the structure and facilitation? And what to do with the results? The number one problem, and we have seen it in all college, any of our forums, when the mic is open and our participants are the person responsible for the mute button, they don't know how to mute. And we have all this static and dialogue going on in the background. How, as a global faculty, do we have a good collaborative chat after a learning process or after a meeting, after a presentation, after a webinar, and use our suggestions and put them in a format where it actually benefits the faculty after the process. And anybody is open to the mic, and I want to hear all your ideas. Anybody? Everybody? Joshua, could we do something? Could we just unmute everybody and see what happens? Okay, everybody's got a mic. Let's see what happens now. Unmute your lines. And part of this is control. You know, if you have barking dogs or crying children, then you have to mute your line. If you want to make a comment, then you unmute so you can participate. Okay, Carmela, you don't have a mic. That's okay. Let's see. Everybody's mic is open, it looks like. See, this is one of the things that we have to work through to make the networking process successful. Noisy children syndrome. That's funny. So do you see a value in after presentation chats or dialogues? That's a good question, Carmela. And there are links for those, but what we have been told that is if that particular link is not active in your classroom, it has to be a standardized thing across college, then we are not supposed to do it. It would be something that you should reach out to your person. You know, we have associate faculty that we work with, and ask them about the online chat or Skype in the classroom. First of all, let's say, is there value to having a presentation after the presentation chat or dialogue?
I think, Conni, given all these multiple questions that our colleagues have just on these chat rooms, I would say yes, there is really a great value for us faculty to discuss certain issues. Perhaps I would suggest that maybe if we have some regularly scheduled sessions with certain topics to direct our colleagues into discussing certain issues, like for example, 1 month we will talk about the class size. I see that many guys are really interested in this topic, reducing the class size. I don't know how feasible it is, but the ideas, of course, are very welcome. Or even this very issue of establishing some kind of link type or Skype type conversation with students in the classroom. So additional technology in the classroom, I would call it. What do you think of that? Do you think that monthly meetings like that, networking meetings, would be useful, or is that too much?
And Carmela, I think what we're looking at here is more of a faculty chat or dialogue rather than the student. And like Kelly said, especially for those that are struggling in an online learning format, a lot of this is very new. So yes, there should be a process for faculty conversation, as Joshua stated. You know, that we all have great experience and knowledge that needs to be shared. And I agree with you, Irina. Just by watching the chat box, it shows that there's a lot of things that people want to share. Should there be a limit to the number of people participating? Should we try to do a Skype or something of that nature? Especially for new faculty. Yes, Carmilla, I agree. Absolutely, for new faculty. And then what do we do with the content? So many times we have these wonderful webinars or presentations and we have all this dialogue over here, but it's never filtered to find out what great information came out of that chat box, and then what do we do with it? I wish you could talk so we could share. There's a challenge.
Well, Conni, that's of course a very good question. What do we do with the information after these conversations? Even the conversation like the one that's happening right now. What do we do with all these great suggestions or questions, or sometimes even frustrations over new faculty who do not really, not sure what to do in certain situations? And I would frankly suggest that people who facilitate these kind of conversations like you and I today would just summarize this, just like we do after the faculty forums that we conduct from time to time in our e-college environment. We just summarize those faculty comments and share with our program managers, our assistant deans, maybe even share with our representatives on academic senate, just as FYI, you know, we give this information and we share it with them and let the decision makers see what to do with it.
That's a good idea, Irina. You're right, Michelle. Models say learning is 70% social, and that comes with our chat. You know, that what my idea might be may not exactly match Dr. Hudson's idea, but the combination of the two may come up with a great idea to stimulate learning in the classroom. It's a matter of just how do we do it? You know, how do we get together as a group, being that I'm in Georgia and Irina's in California, and we have this great opportunity today, but we're still limited because we're the only two that can actually speak right at the moment. And that, you know, does not provide good stimulation for everybody else. You sort of feel like you're in a box. We want out of the box. I'm trying to be humorous so I can develop a relationship with you. Help, let me out of the box.
And by the way, yes, I do realize someone I remember mentioned earlier that she was listening to our presentation now from work, so obviously even if she had the mic, she couldn't talk, only listen. So I would like also to suggest, Conni, maybe we move to the next slide, because I think that's where I posted the link to our very short survey. Yes, here. Thank you very much. You know what? It's just a 4-question survey, and of course it's voluntary. And those of you who, for one reason or another, cannot maybe just think of the right question or to answer, well, the right is, of course, in the question, quotation marks, I'm sorry, meaning that there are no right and wrong answers. But we do want to hear your opinion. You will have access to our slides. It will be posted somewhere for you to access. And please take just, it really will not take more than 1 minute to answer these very simple 4 questions. And they will give us an indication in which format this networking should happen, if it will happen at all. Whether the question will ask you whether you're interested or not in these networking activities and which format you would prefer. So please go ahead when you have a chance and answer those questions. I'm not sure that this link works from the PowerPoint slide now, but later on when you have access to this presentation, you can simply copy and paste this link into your browser and take literally even less than a minute, 30 seconds to answer those questions. That will be greatly appreciated. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and I really feel bad that you weren't able to use the mic, but that's one of the things that we'll have to address. And yes, Kelly, thank you. I think we really do want to share our knowledge and experience, and by doing that, we will be great examples for our students because we're going to have the ability to process best practices and good examples. Oh, great. And Kelly says the link works off the slide. Carmela, we have several faculty members in Florida, so that may be a good idea. I know I have attended the alumni meeting in Atlanta and met some of the instructors. In fact, a couple of my associate faculty that I work with. So that was a great thing, and we, of course, immediately jumped right to things that are going on in the classroom. So yeah, you know, being able to meet regionally would be a great thing, and there are some areas that there are more instructors than others. It's just a matter of coming up with the best plan.
Carmela, by the way, I planned, this is Irina, I plan to be at the conference in Florida in the middle of December. And I know that one of my colleagues from the Forbes School of Business, also Maya Zelenich, also going to attend a conference in Miami at that time. I know several instructors who live in Florida, and depending, of course, on which part of Florida you are, just shoot me an email, and I will set you up with those people so that you can connect locally. How does that sound? Please email me. It's irina.weisblat@ashford.edu. And we will, and I will set you up with our Florida colleagues. Sounds good?
Yeah, and there's a possibility that we're going to be in Las Vegas in March. So there's another option for those of you in that area. We may be able to meet. I know we're planning to meet with a couple of our peers during that time. So if you're in that area, we may be able to get together. It just may be a ground effort that we get this started and rolling.
Absolutely, and this is really a good start. And I think that sometimes meeting just for a coffee, face-to-face for, you know, half an hour really can start this sort of, so to speak, accidental meetings and without real agenda, and just a chance to get to know each other will make a lot of good for all of us, and will outline our future conversations online. So please do email us, tell us which area you are from, and we will make sure that we will establish the local chapters, so to speak, of faculty networks. I think that's a great idea that came out of this conversation.
And Barbara, that is quite a title for that group. I think I would like to be part of it. If you haven't read Barbara's post there, they have a small group that meets, so that is wonderful.
I didn't see that. Conni, could you tell us what is that?
It says, in the College of Education, we have enjoyed great success with our LMFAO group. What is LMFAO? What are you thinking? It's the Lower Mid and Further Atlantic office of the College of Education. It's a small group, but we have met in person and consistently chat via email and sometimes phone. That is awesome.
Oh, that sounds spectacular. Yes, something to... okay, now I finally found that message. Yeah, that sounds absolutely spectacular. I would like to replicate that.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to really work to come up with a better title for the group, though.
Well, in fact, within the SurveyMonkey, there are kind of write-in boxes, so everyone, please feel free to give your suggestions for the name of the group within that SurveyMonkey area. We will inform you later what type of name is the winner.
Let me go to the next slide. I think our information is on there. And then I'll take it back to the SurveyMonkey. There's our email information and my LinkedIn information. I really want to thank you for your great participation. It just shows the excitement that we see during our gatherings, and I'm so happy that you joined us today. This was a nice group, 27, and it's clear we have a voice, and we want to share our stuff with one another. And thank you so much, every one of you. All right, I'm going to send it back to the SurveyMonkey now, if that's all right. For those of you who haven't had a chance to click on it, we appreciate your participation. I know you have to go to another session.
Thank you. This is Irina again. Thank you again very much, everyone, for participating. And I do hope that very soon we will meet in 1-hour networking event as Ashford faculty. Thank you again, and we'll meet in some other session during this fabulous TLC conference. Goodbye.